Okay, so for those of you who are in attendance, you will get the opportunity to get a recording or a modified recording. So you won't get the full recording, but you will get some of the information in the recording. So what I'm gonna recommend again is that you take copious notes, that you turn your volume way, way up. I hope you enjoyed our holiday music because we feeling good. Happy holidays to you all over the world, for those of you who are joining us this evening. And then we want to make sure, I see just a few people in that chat, so make sure that you post in the chat. You can hear us, or put the number 1 so we know that you can hear us loud and clear. So we're going to start this off tonight telling you about who the Smart People Network is. So a little bit about myself. I'm an international grant writer. Our company has done over 500 million in grant funds. We help people all over the world establish their nonprofits as well as their for-profits. And our focus is to get funding for small businesses and entrepreneurs. Our ultimate goal is to increase your net worth. Now, what I'm going to do is make sure my volume is off, because as you know, these phones will go nonstop, right? And make sure both phones are off, so we will have no interruption for the next 90 minutes. Literally though, our ultimate goal is to increase your net worth. And it doesn't just mean monetarily, it also means in your network. Your network is your net worth. So we want to expand your network, as well as give you the tools and resources you need to grow and expand your business. I'm going to start off by telling you a little bit about our purpose and goals at the Smart People Network. Let me move a few things around. So education development this is our 2030 agenda. We're looking, and this is within the network. So for those who are members, because we have these broad goals, right? For it to be worldwide. We want everything to be worldwide. However, we're operating our own community within the world. So in our community, we want no poverty in the Smart People Network. We want zero hunger. We've had people come to us, and sometimes they're trying to be an entrepreneur, but they're kind of a starving artist, trying to grow and build. And all of us can relate to the struggle, because sometimes it could be real out here, right? And we're international, so poverty is real. So we want zero hunger when you're in the Smart People Network. Good health or well-being. You have to be healthy. Some people just want to be wealthy, but what good is it for a man to have all the riches in the world, but then you cannot enjoy them? I get up and donate and spend and expand and create a legacy. Why? Because you're in poor health. The quality of education. You'll get quality education, internal and external. We have some of the most greatest world-renowned trainers here at the Smart People Network. You're going to hear one this evening, aside from myself, when we talk about our bonus information this evening. Gender equality. It's not just a man's world, okay, but a woman has her worth in this world, right? Clean water and sanitation. We just had some people, and it's not always international. We just had some people in Flint, Michigan, that we have teams that are still taking water to Flint, Michigan, and all over. It's a lot of clean water is just an issue for a lot of people, and all over in America, out of America, and all around the world. Affordable and clean energy, decent work. Because every business owner needs some workers. So we want to make sure that we provide really good work environments, and that you get to make some money. Whether you own in a company or you're working with the company, whether you're the janitor or the president, we want you to be well paid, above and far above minimum wage. Industry innovation and infrastructure. We're bringing in new infrastructure. We have new innovative ideas. We just had our mastermind roundtable, and a gentleman came on and he talked about how he's doing his app to monitor our pets and to give them vitamins. And I mean, how phenomenal is that for your your pets to be healthy as well. And our main goal, we want to reduce inequalities across the board. And sometimes inequality doesn't mean that because you're a minority or a woman. Sometimes it's inequalities for men. When I went away to college, when I got my first degree, I was married, and the grants and the scholarships that I got wasn't offered to my husband at that time, or men who were trying to get in. It was, if you had to be a woman, you had to be a minority, you had to be a mother and a parent, and so many things that make it unequal and unlevel the playing field. So at the Smart People Network, we're here to level the playing field, okay? Sustainable cities and communities. When you have a Smart People Network member in your city, what a blessed city you have, because we come in, we disrupt the technology and we disrupt systems so that we can help other people grow and expand in that community. Responsible for consumption, production, climate action. I mean, we have people that show up all over the world, right? Life below water. So that's our sea level. We have people that are deep diving, and we're expanding. So we want you to be a part of that as well as life on land. I'm just really giving you some pointers so you can know what our mission and our agenda is with the Smart People Network. And it's so big, you could just get in where you fit in. Everybody will not touch every area. Some people will be in the sustainable development goals. That's my baby. Some people will be in the partnership goals and peace and justice. Everybody will have their area of expertise, and we welcome you here at the Smart People Network. Okay, so I just really want to say significant achievements that we've had, but there's still a lot of people left behind. Gender inequality still persists. The big gaps between the poorest and the richest household. So the haves and the have-nots, the haves, that gap is getting so much further apart. So we want the haves and the have-mores over here at the Smart People Network. We don't want any have-nots, as you can see with our agenda. So I really want you just to know whose house you're in while we're taking the time to give you an overview about our mission and where we're going with the Smart People Network, because we're going really fast and we're impacting a lot of people, and we want you to be a part of that. Climate change and environmental change, we want you to be a part of that, okay? Conflict still remains the biggest threat to human development. Conflict, I used to live in Chicago, and I'm telling you, local conflict and international conflict, worldwide conflict, it's still an issue. But here at the Smart People Network, we have some dynamic individuals who have come up with some significant ways to decrease and eliminate conflict, not just within our community, but within those who are on the outside of our community where we're leaders. We have some political leaders in the Smart People Network, and we have an agenda so that we can work together to help more than just our community, but we as a community have to be okay first. Put your own oxygen mask on first, right? So millions of people still live in poverty, hunger, and without basic services. I had a person today who wanted to join us. He's in Nigeria, and he was like, my internet is not working. I'm not gonna be able to get on the call, I'm trying. So he may click in and out, but if you're here, go ahead and put a message in the chat so we'll know you're here. The successes of the Smart People Network, it's a global call to action. It's a global agenda, okay? And it argues that our global action is really the path for a new development, that we really don't want to leave anyone behind. So we want to thank each and every one of you all for joining us this evening and getting the opportunity to go over the Ultimate Grant Writing Masterclass, because we do international grants as well, and we want to make sure that you get your piece of that pie, okay? The world has the opportunity to build on the successes and to embrace new ambitions for our future world. Okay, so we also have a youth program in the Smart People Network, and we work with students as well. So we make sure that we have a universal and transformative agenda for all that are a part of the Smart People Network. As the human race, we seek a sustainable future. It's almost my disclaimer. I have to let you know who we are and where you are before we begin going into the depths of our program. 1 minute. Let me make sure I've got my buttons right. Okay, so topic for today's presentation. Yay, why grant writing? This is what we're going over today, okay? Finding funding sources. Again, make sure you're taking screenshots, basic elements of the grant proposal, submitting a proposal. The money is yours, now what? Because once you get that grant, now what? And your final thoughts that we have and yours about this whole process. And then we're also going to talk about Forex trading as a bonus. So many people, because of our mastermind, have inboxed and called and sent messages to members at smartpeoplenetwork.com. And they wanted to know, how do we get more information about Forex trading and what are the do's and don'ts? So we brought one of our experts here today so that he can definitely go over that with you as well. Take this email down. If Monica is in the chat, members at smartpeoplenetwork.com. So if you have a question after this presentation, you want to speak to me, ask me a question directly that may not get answered during this presentation, then you can send us an email there and I will definitely get it. Okay, so what are grants? Everybody's hearing this billions and billions and trillions of dollars of grants. Let me tell you how powerful grants are. When I went away to school, and I filled out my FAFSA and all of my information, but it didn't cover all of my expenses. I had housing, you have books, you have, aside from your tuition, it doesn't cover all the tuition all the time. Sometimes you have a deficit. So I had like a 12.5 deficit each semester. And so I had to figure out how to get that money. And I went to Catholic Charities because someone told me that they help with the books and all. So I went to Catholic Charities and I filled out an application. I didn't know it was a grant application, but they said they was giving some money and I heard about it like you all heard about money. And I said, well, what would happen if I just fill these applications out? And while they're creating relationships, that's a big part of getting a grant, creating relationships, they told me about other grants, the United Way and other foundations in the community. And I said, you mean to tell me there's some foundations that have money? I can get a grant and don't have to pay it back. I don't have to get this student loan that they keep telling me to get? Yes. So when I heard that I could get some free money, and free mean I didn't have to pay it back and I could use it to pay my tuition, I went grant back crazy. It was like anybody had a grant, I was applying for it. And I applied and I applied and I applied so much that I didn't have to get a loan during my bachelor's year. I didn't have to get a loan to obtain my master's. I did not have to get a loan to obtain my PhD, neither of them, because I understood the power of grants. Now, did that mean I didn't get a loan? I did get a loan because I was young and I didn't know. And I was like, I want a car. So they're going to pay for this tuition. So I'm going to get that student loan and I'm going to get a new car, which I did. Now, I didn't know any better. So I'm look, total transparency here. But I didn't have to get a bunch of loans to put myself through school. So I'm super excited about that. Okay. And we show people how to do that as well. So why do we want to get grants aside from going to school? School grants is everything, but grants give you the opportunity to address a need identified by both you and the funder. Now, let me tell you about me and grants. I don't have a vision and you don't do this. Don't just say, I want to have a daycare and I want to service children on this block. That's a great idea, but if they don't have funding for that, and they say we have a daycare, but it has to be, we're doing computer science right now, and we're only doing one-eyed children with autism, then I'm going to bring some autistic children into my program and I'm going to find somebody to train and work with that group, because you go where the money is. You don't try to create it, and the money moves. It's like Monopoly, you know, it's always moving around the board. So what you have to do is identify and create a project to address the needs where the funding is. Now, if it's far-fetched and too far out of your zone, which really is not, sometimes you just need to, what I call tweak and change a few things in order for you to receive that funding. That's step one, okay? So step two, apply now. Oh, we're gonna apply for a grant now. Let me see, hold on, wait a minute. Okay, so everybody on the line, if you will go here with me to, now, even though it's the Black Founder Startup Grant, doesn't matter if you're not African American, because here. So to qualify for this one, wait a minute. I might be doing something, hold on. So who else doesn't see the presentation? Because I'm on the grant page. So let me see, what if I'm gonna stop screen share. I am not seeing the grant page. Okay, so I'm gonna screen share. 1 minute. And I'm gonna share. Now, are you on the grant page with me? Put it in the chat. Okay, so for this particular grant, it is self-identified as a Black woman, Black non-binary entrepreneur, inclusive of multiracial women or multiracial Black non-binary folks. So anybody that you know that falls in that category, they should be over here. But even if not, you may have a woman friend, you may have somebody else in your network, you may have somebody else that you're working with. You need to know about this, okay? Because this is your first step into applying for a grant. I hope you all are able to pull this up on your computer. IamSoGal, GAL.com. IamSoGal.com. So here, and it's not a whole lot of money. We've had several people get 5,000, 8,000, 12, 5,000, 12,500. So here's a great place for you to start and just put your hat in the ring. One of the reasons people do not get grant funding is because they don't put their hat in the ring. So what we do, we're gonna put your hat in the ring today, okay? Let me come down. Okay, I see some of you all are here on this page. So you're just gonna put your name. Now I'm having some technical difficulties over here, but you're gonna put your name. If my computer wasn't frozen right there, I wonder if you all can hear me. There we go, there she go. She unfroze on us, y'all. Okay, so put your name in there. Yes. Thank you, Ms. McCoy, for giving me that call. Put your email in here. I hope you all are doing this as well. How your pronouns, we all know our pronouns, whoever you are, put that here, check whichever one you are. Your company name, your company website. Now, if you don't have a website right now and you're in business, you need to get a website. So go to Fiverr.com, go to Upwork.com, go to smartpeoplenetwork.com. We have, if you want more of a customized, go to Wix.com. But anybody, entrepreneur, solopreneur, LLC, for-profit, nonprofit, you need a website. A lot of people are not able to get grants because this simple right here. You cannot put any information in your website. Some people just don't have a website. You gotta have a website if you're gonna get funding. People want to look up and see what you're doing, so you need a website, okay? Ours is www.smartpeoplenetwork.com. We've already applied for this, so I'm not gonna put all of our information in here because we've already been funded here, okay? So then, how did you hear about us? Everybody in here will put other and put smartpeoplenetwork.com so they know, because we're sharing their information. And then here you check as many that apply to you. If it's applicable, all of us have artificial intelligence of some sort being on these computers, okay? Education, no matter what you're doing some education. So don't just think you're doing one thing, because no matter what, there's some education involved, okay? Data and analytics. Analysis, you want to have the analytics, you want to have all of that. All of us are analyzing data. You're finding out how many people showed up, how many people didn't, all of that. So I want you to think outside of the box when you're completing these applications. Business to business, products and services, check that. You want at least 3 to 4 boxes on here at minimum check. So go through each of these and find out, check all that applies to you, and then sign up for their newsletter. Of course you want their newsletter because you want their money. If you want my money, you want my newsletter, right? Of course. So you definitely want to go here, and then you hit submit. Voila, that's it. You don't have to write a bunch of stuff. This is a great way to get your foot in the door, get a few $1,000s, roll it into your organization. You don't have to be a nonprofit. You didn't see that. You don't have to have a 501c3. And SoGal is not the only one like this. There are thousands of grants. And when you're in the Smart People Network, you get our emails. So we send these out regularly so that you can just pop on and apply. And the more you apply for, the better you strengthen your opportunity. You may not get the first one or the second one. Let's not be irrational about it, but you get in the game. You have to get in the game to win. So this is one of our go-tos when we have people learn how to just kind of get your feet wet. Even if you get the $1,000, for those few minutes of filling out that application, is it worth it? Absolutely. And you don't have to pay it back, because when you get a grant, it's a gift. It's considered as a gift. Now I'm going to stop that share. Give me 1 second so I can go let's see if I can get you back to where we are. And you all were on that first page, so I want to get you here. Okay, let me share. There, before I go again, is everybody seeing Grant App Step 1? Put Step 1 in the chat. Monica, confirm via text so I can be sure that everybody is seeing. Yes, yes. Okay, perfect. Yes, okay. Now this grant, tell me if you can see this screen. Can you see the screen? Invoice, Grow by Invoice to Go. Yes, okay. So put that in your phone, Invoice to Go. So here, this grant requires just a look. No, you don't see Invoice to Go? Okay, wait a minute. Y'all gonna see it today. Hold on, wait a minute. Tell me if you see that screen. Grow your future. Do you see the Grow Your Future? Put it in chat, yes, yes. Yes, yes. Okay, perfect. Grow your future. So you need to apply for this grant. This is a great grant. It goes all the way up to 200,000. Again, it's very similar to the last one. You're going to simply hit apply. A lot of people are afraid to just hit apply. Like I confirmed that both myself and the business submitting are eligible for the GROW program. I'm a business owner. I live in the US and I'm 18 years or older. And that's basically what it says. Who are you? Are you Asian Island? Are you Asian Pacific, Black, Latino, Native American? There are so many Native American grants. So if you know someone Native American, I mean, I almost look for Native Americans because there's so many grants out here available for them. Alaskan Native, wherever you are, Alaska Native, Arab, Middle Eastern, and you know, we're all kind of mixed up in here together. So LGBTQ plus, any other alphabets you want to add on there, a person with a disability, these are the people that can apply here, okay? So you're going to hit confirm that you can enter into this. Then you put your business last name, first and last name here. Email address, I do samples so that you see it still there. Here, business name, description, and purpose. Now, if you have a website, like I jump over to Smart People Network and my mission statement is there, who we are, it's already there. So Lane Capital Group is my company. So I jump over there to Lane Capital Group. That's also a nonprofit organization. And our mission and our information is there. I copy and paste. So you want to have this ready so you don't sit here and then, because this screen will time out on you as well. So what's the weight? 20, 30% telling us about your business, and you want to be able to 200 words or less. So you don't want a bunch of fluff. You want the bottom line. This is my mission. This is who we are. This is what we're doing. And does your business demonstrate commitment to the community? For the last 2 years, for the last year, we've serviced 1,200 families, and we've provided this, and this has been the outcome. Our education services is this, and these are the results. It's always about what are the results? What can you do? What have you done for me lately, as they say? That's what it's about. Then you want to put your picture in here. International Multicultural Awards Gala is one of the international galas that we do. So you want your personal picture though. I always check to make sure the screens and things are working right, but it tells you 10 by 80. One of the things that people lose grants because they don't follow instructions. If it says 1080 by 1080 dimensions at least, then you need to have at least these dimensions. There's a reason for that. So you need, because if it's not, then it may upload, but you may not get funded simply because of that. We'd like to stay in touch with you. Would you like that? We're going to say, of course we would. Stay in touch with us. We're not going to opt out. And then guess what you do? You submit your application. That's it. Voila. Now you should have done in this Ultimate Grant Writing Masterclass, you should have submitted 2 applications. You should have access to 2 applications that are really not very painful at all. And that's what we want you to understand, that grant writing isn't painful. It doesn't have to be. So let me stop that. Let me close that out. Now I'm going to go back to our screen share. Everybody see that? I hope y'all see that. Participants can see your app now. Okay, excellent. So, number one thing that people do in grants, we got to identify some funding sources. Now, you just got 2 really good ones, right? But I'm going to ask you to screenshot this slide right here, because grants.gov, that's where the federal government and all of these agencies put all of their grants, and they're listed at grant.gov. You need to register at grant.gov, because that's where you're going to find out where's my funding at, where the applications at. Some of the application I showed you are not on grant.gov. So you want grant.gov money. and you want inside money, but you also want external money. And we'll show you how to do that. Ed.gov funding, that's for the education. These are some primary sources in order for you to be able to tap into the potential funders. So you can see what funding is available while you're developing your program. We're not going to go there, but I do want you to screenshot this, as well as federal.gov. Now, for those who are, we had some people who are in Greenville, North Carolina. So, you know, I had to give them some special information by request. So greenvillewomengiving.org, you want to tap into the foundations as well, okay? And then cfgreenville.org, you want to screenshot, make sure you're there. I'm going a little fast, but I want to make sure that you all are able to screenshot this information and know that you will get a recap, okay, of all the grants and the information that you're seeing. What I want you to understand here is that with all of these grants that you see on the screen today, these grants are letting you know that the money is available. But what happens is that people don't apply for them. They don't do what we just did. They don't go online and complete the application. And sometimes it's as simple as the ones we just did. Sometimes it's a 200-page grant, but a 200-page grant is normally a 2.5 million and a whole different level of grants. But people only think of big, broad proposals. So we will be tapping, because this is a 2-part masterclass. So this class is giving you the fundamentals, but when we go into part 2, then we're going to literally show you samples of successful proposals that we've written and how you can start writing and expressing the information about your program, okay? The toolbox for education, that gives you a lot of samples. It gives you some templates. It also gives you everything. Remember what I said, no matter what business you're in, there is some form of education that is involved. And if you're not thinking you're educating people, then we got to hurry up and help you broaden your scope. Grant writing. So here's a carefully review the request for proposal. When people call me and they say, hey, can you write this grant for me? The first thing I'm going to say is, do you have an RFP? Or you, because sometimes people just in their head and they're like, I heard it's trillions of dollars. Can you write one for me? And they don't have some of the things we're going to go over here tonight. But when you do have an RFP, then my second question will be, when is the deadline? You know, let me see it, because I'm looking for the deadline of submission guidelines. I like for a big grant, normally we write, you know, $1 million grants, but we do some 100,000 and 10s and 20, kind of like we have the team show. But if I'm writing, I'm going for the $1 million grants, right? So, and I like 6 weeks to produce that. So that's my first thing, is I'm going to look for the deadline, right? And then the funding range, what's the maximum? Because we want to know how much money is in this pool right here. And then we look for the history, because I find out who got this grant before, what are they doing? So it's a lot of research involved when you're in the big money. Even in the small money, under 100,000, you still want it. And you want to do these same things, but you don't ever want to miss a deadline. If you miss a deadline, they say it's due at midnight. I like my grants turned in way before the deadline. Well, 72 hours before deadline, because they won't take up too much earlier. Funding focus. You got to be focused. You can't be all over the place. This is where you have to be laser focused on it, right? The application format, kind of like I just said with that picture. I want that to be in your mind. Wow, they said 10 by 80. Sometimes people say, oh, it says load a picture. And then it loads a picture, but you didn't read the fine print. And that will cost you. It has cost you. And I'm going to tell you, missing a deadline, missing one of those little requirements, even me, I mean, it only take one time though for me to feel the sting. And I've never missed the application deadline or one of those specific guidelines anymore, because we got a 98% success rate in writing grants. Why? Because we pay attention to the details. Okay, the fortune is in the follow-up, and some people say the devil's in the details. So we mingle right in there with them details, right? Allowable and non-allowable allowable expenses. What are you allowed to purchase? So we have a system that allows you to use your for-profit to cover your administrative fees. Previously, 67% of grant funding has been for administrative fees, paying the president, the vice president, the staff. But what if we could show you a way that your grant money is all going towards services, and you have another way, a stream of income, no commingling of funds, that stream of income. I always have to give that disclaimer. But when you have another way to cover your staff, and grant writers like that, because that means my money is going for the service to the community when you're awarded that grant, and you really become the needle in the haystack that they are looking for. Because keep in mind, on the average, 67% goes toward expenses for salary and compensation and benefits. And we want to eliminate that. That's one of the reasons why we win, because we have another strategy there. Eligible, you want to make sure that you're eligible. You saw some of the eligibility requirements. If not you, then who is it? Somebody else on your team that is more eligible for that grant. And then thinking a team, assembling your grant team. If you're going for some funding and you really want to get in, you need a team. That's one of the reasons how the Smart People Network was developed. Over the past 20 years of myself writing grants and working with other individuals, we decided, hey guys, let's come together and Smart People Network. So let's network and bring a team together and make it a membership base, because everybody had an area of expertise. So we have members, and then we have educators who are also members, but they're educators as well. And we decided to pool our resources. That's very important. So you need a project coordinator. That's the person that says, this is how the program is going to run. And that's the person that's making sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, that for the program, not for the grant. But you need somebody's resume in your proposal when you're going for funding. Even if it's $200,000, you need that coordinator there. Facilitators. I'm a facilitator at the Smart People Network. You'll hear from one of our other facilitators today. Ms. McCoy is a facilitator. We got a lot of facilitators, but we have a lot of subject matters as well, right? Everybody has their area of expertise. You need administrators, those who are managing, but also going out to make sure that you're following what the grant requirements are. And then you need your stakeholders or supporters or constituents, or if you're in the education, you need parents involved. You need people to support the cause here. And then you need a program grant writer. Now, there may be somebody on your team. You may hire somebody like myself or someone else on our team. You may come in and go to a training so you can learn, because we literally have people who write their proposal and then they bring it to us to edit it. Because sometimes you're writing your story and nobody can tell that story better than you. And our job is to make sure that your story is clear, okay? So why a team? Just as I said, to divide the labor up. Now, let me tell you all really quick how I got into grant writing. When I got out of college, I was a family therapist. I'm a psychologist by education, right? So I'm a family therapist. I'm working, doing home-based therapy. Some of you all are familiar. I'm going to homes and I'm doing therapy. And then I got, maybe in that first month, I was promoted to therapy manager. And my supervisor, Dr. Kegler in Indianapolis, he said to me, he said, I've been looking at your progress notes and I have this grant proposal. And I really want to see, if you could write it, take a shot at it. And I was like, I've never written a proposal, a grant, what? Because I was like many of you are, even in college, I was just doing applications. I didn't know I was writing proposals, even when I had to tell my story. That was a part of the summary and the proposal. I didn't know. So when he gave me this thick proposal, then I'm like, So I take the proposal home, and he wanted it, and this is a Thursday, he wanted it by Monday. So I got a few days. And I just go home and go to work. I didn't even start on Thursday. I didn't start till Saturday because I was still working, right? So I went and it just started clicking. I was like, oh, boys, a boys' home. Okay. Now these boys have been abandoned and they're in the system and they've aged out of foster care, but they're not grown enough to be in the city. Oh, what programs do they need? Now, I didn't know that he just wanted me to write the scale of the program. I wrote the whole proposal, you all. I wrote the budget. I did the research. Like, who else is doing this? What would make us different? How could we do it? So I came back and I gave it to him. And I mean, with almost tears in his eyes, he was like, look, you can't be the manager anymore. I need to make you our director of operations. And I was like, no, I want to do therapy. And he was like, no, you're going to write these grants so that you can help me hire these therapists. And he submitted that proposal. It got $250,000 on my first shot out the gate. Washington Place Group Home existed over 12 years in Indianapolis, Indiana. You can still pull it up. One of the top group homes for boys in Indianapolis, Indiana. And off to the races everywhere. I just started evaluating. I started getting on boards and I just really like it. It's like, what? Let me breathe some life into your dream and your vision. It made sense to me. But you need a team because it doesn't always make sense, every piece to everybody. And you want some brainstorming. As I grew in this process, I understood the value of a team. You got to have somebody to brainstorm with you and shoot ideas off of. So that's super important, right? So step one, register your organization. Please, please, please screenshot. We got you licensed. We got you certified. You're already a nonprofit organization. You have your 501c3. We've submitted that application. Now you need a DONS number. That's Dun and Bradstreet number. Every nonprofit and for-profit must get a DONS number. Then you need to register with the Central Contractors Registry. We're going to tell you about getting those contracts. But if you're not registered, you're not going to get one, okay? Identify your organization's e-business point of contact. Who is going to get the information? Now, let me tell you the worst part about the e-business point of contact. If it's somebody in your organization that you say, oh, they always check their emails, they're the best person, and then you all fall out, they quit, they get COVID, God forbid anybody does, anyone else does, anything happens and they disappear and you don't have access to that email, well, it is so hard to try to replace that person that's listed on the e-biz contact. So let me tell you, make sure if it is not you and you're not the person that's going to follow it, make sure that you have access to the email of the person that is following, and make sure, because you have a website, remember, and in the website they have emails. So make sure that you have access to that email and they're using your company email and not their personal email. The CCRM, you're going to get a PIN. You need to always know that PIN. It's almost like filing taxes and you don't have the PIN. If you ever did identity theft or anything and you don't have that PIN, you out of luck. And whatever funding you thought you were going to get, you're not going to get anything until you have the PIN, okay? So some organizations are registered. Like when I take on an organization and I'm setting up their nonprofit and their for-profit, I register you with the Central Contractors Registry. I go there, I make sure that you have all your I's dotted and T's crossed. Why? Because there's so many different things. And we take a day and we go through every registration to make sure that you're registered. Because if you're not, when you get to a certain point on grants.gov, remember a few slides back, grants.gov, when they ask you for if you're registered with CCR, and you're like, what? I don't know. Well, we have a whole list that we keep for every organization to make sure that you maintain your registration in your registry. So when you're registered with ccr.gov, we follow up with you to make sure you're there. But if you don't know, and if it wasn't me and you had somebody else registering you, go online to ccr.gov, click the search and put your business name in, and it'll let you know, because sometimes you're registered and you don't know, but it's tough too. Now here's a bonus. You got a bonus. So pause. I always throw a bonus in the middle of the presentation. So now you're all registered with everything, but I didn't have sam.gov. Put sam.gov on your paper, sam.gov. You need to be registered there too. Otherwise, you don't get no grant money. You got to be registered with sam.gov. Well, big grant money. But here, adjudication of property. So in your area, if you're in the US, look up the list for adjudicated properties. Here are some here. I just pulled a few of them down, adjudicated properties. When you have your nonprofit, you have the opportunity to get, this is when they say, I got free property, Donated property for $1 because I'm a nonprofit organization. Sometimes it's abandoned schools, sometimes it's houses. I like the houses because you can put aftercare programs there, homes for veterans there. You could put rehab centers, second chance programs in these houses. And literally because you have properly positioned yourself here at the Ultimate Grant Writing Masterclass, and you completed all those certifications, the number one reason people do not get grants or adjudicated property is because they don't have their paperwork in order. So here with the previous slides, you should have learned how to have your paperwork in order. Now, adjudicated property, what does it say? If this is properties that have been lost for failed property taxes and no one has bid on it. How many boarded up houses is in your community or somewhere around? How many have you seen? And nobody is coming, they just there. And in some really nice areas. I mean, I chose these, but there's some really nice homes that have just been abandoned. Sometimes people are deceased. Sometimes people get a divorce and they fold their arms. The taxes get so far behind. Here's the truth. I've had a couple that got so far behind, ended up with a nonprofit organization and went back and got their property back under their nonprofit, under their dollar, and that waived those taxes because it's an adjudicated property that wasn't bid on, okay? So you have an opportunity to utilize the system that has been prepared for you because we want to beautify our neighborhoods and our communities, and we need somebody to step up to the plate. And if you have a nonprofit organization, it's not about your credit, it's not about your personal assets. It is literally about the nonprofit organization being properly structured. So that's one of the reasons why we work really hard to make sure that you have proper structure in your nonprofit. And then when we know where you are, as a part of the Smart People Network, we send out the list. And many communities, when you show interest, like I'm in this area, I'm in like the lady in Greenville. When you say I have an interest here and it goes through the members at smartpeoplenetwork.com, then they say, let's focus here and send that out to the membership. And that'll be the example for that individual. And as we grow, some people just grab this information. Like right now, somebody should be pulling up list of adjudicated properties in their area because it's a lot. Okay, so back to the presentation. That was a sidebar bonus for you. We have some more coming up. Grant writing. Grant writing, step 5, write the proposal. Remember I told you he gave me that whole contract application, because I call proposals application because it really is just an application. And it's saying, tell me about you. What are your dreams and goals? What are you doing in the community? How are you helping people? Who are you helping? That's really all you have. Your narratives, all that mean is, who are you helping? I'm helping ages 5 to 12 after school program focused on mathematics to increase their math score by 30%, demonstrated by the relationship that you've built, collaboration with the community, right? Because you want to show community collaboration. So built by, you want to get the grades and you want to show that increase. They went from a D to a B because of being in your program. They went from a 65 to an 85 because they're in your program. Those are what you call problems or need statement. These students in this area from this grade to this grade are not able to pass the standardized test. That standardized test scores will increase by 20% after completing 12 weeks of our program. That's really how specific, and you want to really be specific and passionate about it. Now, some people just say, I know I'm really good at training people and teaching them. So then we have what we call a discovery call, and we dig deep into what you do so that we can create your abstract, so that we can create an executive summary for you and your need statement, because sometimes you really don't know exactly what the need statement is. You just know you're effective. And so what our goal is to identify your goals and objectives. How many students do you really want to help in your community? And that's one of our goals and objectives there, right? Then the evaluation. So after you're going through your methodology, how are you doing this? That's the discovery call. How you do it? Really? So you work with them. And my granddaughter was not potty trained. and she was resistant, and her mom was like, my daughter was like, "Ma, I can't get it." So then I called her and I got on the phone, and we got a whole song called, pee pee in the pot. And when she calls me now, she's like, "Oh, grandma, I pee pee in the pot." It sounds like, crazy, right? But it's fun. And so she's excited. And now I potty, I got the big girl panties. So that's really, really fun. But what's my methodology? I had to relate to her what made sense to her. And it may not make sense to someone else, but we have a successful potty trained child. So now I'm like the potty train whisperer to all of her friends, and everybody got a different theme. So how do you get into the person's head and their mind and make it work for your clients? And that's really what we do when we're doing our goals and objectives. What's the goal? The goal is to get to the pot. Okay. So project design and methodology. I use song because she sings all the time. That's meaningful for her. We evaluated the system, and then we're going to create a budget and a narrative. How much would people pay me to potty train their kids? Within one day, if I could get your child to potty train, and then you give yourself some grace within that week. If I get your child to be potty trained, what does the budget say? How much time does it take? And that's when you start breaking down the budget. You look at other budgets. What does it qualify for in a community? And then we create a budget narrative. Some people just come up with some numbers and say, well, I want to be paid, $99,000. So I need a $200,000 budget so that at least my salary is paid. No, we need to have a realistic budget, and you can have 99,000, but we just need to make sure that we're making it reasonable to the services that you're providing. Okay. So remember I talked about the resumes that you attach. So you want to start getting your people together. And if you don't have people, then you know what the skill set is, because you can put a resume with no name, because once you get funded, then you have some money and you'll hire people with those qualifications in order to be able to provide that service. Okay. But the main thing is that you want to be clear and concise on your project. A lot of people are just all over the place. I mean, I have people, they're like, I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I'm doing. And it's like, where your money at? Where's your main vein? And if I can't find your main vein, then oftentimes you won't be grant ready. And our goal is to make sure you're grant ready. So we have a whole application process to say, are you grant ready? And we have you fill that out. And some people say, I don't want to write it. Then you don't really want that funding. You do have to go through some of the pain. Or you hire someone, but even with that, we have a discovery call, and we still got to fill it out because we got to find out if you're grant ready and if you can maintain it. And then when we're writing, you don't say, I provide, or, you avoid using a first person. You want to, even if it is just you and your daughter, Kimberly, that's you and your daughter. You never just say, well, yeah, me and Kim, no, Kim and I, no. Our organization provides services that enhances our community in order to have, you see what I'm saying? Now it sounds so much bigger, better, and brighter, because that's where you're going to. And that's why we're going to give you funds so you can get us bigger, better, and brighter. Your program description, that should already be on your website. You've already created that, right? Because you have the website there. Reviewers. I have grant reviewers. I have a team of people that does the research, but they review, because sometimes you don't want to lose a grant because you can't spell. Spell check didn't catch it. You don't want to lose for that, right? So what's the need statement? Now here, the need statement is the opportunity, I got to read it so you can be clear, to show you clearly, should show that you clearly understand the needs, that the funder is trying to resolve. And on their website, it says, we service people in the California mountains that have been impacted by the fires. So they're telling you who they want to service. So if you come in and say, I want to service people in Alaska or at the other end of California that doesn't have anything to do with the fires, then you already are out, because you didn't let them know that their project was for, or your project is worth a worthy investment. So really just pay attention to the fine print when you have the RFP. What's the RFP? Somebody put it in the chat, RFP. Let's see who has it. Monica, text me the first person who knows what an RFP is in the chat. So when we send out that bonus, we know who it go to. Okay, put the meaning of RFP in the chat. Again, screenshot, establishing your foundational statement. Know what you want to do. This is all this is saying. Be persuasive, know who you are and what you want to provide, what services you have to provide. Glenda Giles will be, give Monica your Cash App so we can send you a $50 bonus tonight. Send your Cash App to Monica. Post your Cash App, Glenda Giles. RFP is request for proposal. Okay. Monica, please remind me to make sure Glenda gets that $50 Cash App this evening. It's fun. That's a grant. That's a grant, and we're gonna write it off as a grant. It is a ultimate grant writing class grant. You just won a grant, Glenda, just because you paid attention to the details, and that's how you win. Pay attention to the details, okay? So I'm getting super excited because we're winding down, but I just really want to make sure that we're getting our points there, that you're really following us, right? It's a lot of information. It's a lot of information, team, but pay attention because we got more rewards and grants and pop-ups and all type of things coming next, okay? So screenshot. The bottom line here on number 9 is follow the guidelines exactly. They have 1 inch around the paper. Some of them say when you submit, make sure you have an inch margin. Some people say 1.5 inches. So, because they don't want you to, and then you only have 12 pages and then you do 13 pages and then they throw your grant out and it never even get read because you didn't follow the instructions. So one thing I'm driving home here is about documentation. Make sure that you follow instructions, that your document is clear and you're following instructions. All right, making sure that I'm good. Okay, citing. You want to cite your sources. Don't just make stuff up. Kids are all wild and failing in class. You got to cite your sources and data. Where did it come from? Who did you get that information from? Now, when we go into part 2 of this, we're going to show you examples of how you're citing sources, how you write that in, and how you get that information in. Really, it is just about telling your story. And where did you hear that from? Was it just a Google? Did you hear it on Facebook? Or is it actual facts? When you're writing, people want actual facts. Use a case study. What happened? What happened? We have a person here. She started off. She has Georgia Rehabilitation. When you have your services for those with mental health and disabilities. So now you started off as a nonprofit organization, and then those people started to need housing when housing failed, because often that happens with those with mental illness. If you know anyone with mental illness or suicidal, please use the hotlines and prevention and share those suicidal hotlines for those individuals. But those people needed housing. So when they needed housing, she also started her for-profit. We helped her do that. We put the for-profit in place. So now she provides housing for them. So when they're leaving her program, they have funding in the nonprofit in order for them to have services, and they have housing money. But some people preferred or wasn't qualified to get into regular apartments or homes. So now that she's rented out duplexes and multi-unit housing, then that allowed people to move into the housing complex, which she really, no commingling of funds, 2 separates, for-profit and a nonprofit. Everybody needs a nonprofit organization, everybody on the planet. It's not just there for the fun of it. Everybody on the planet needs a nonprofit organization. If you want impact-driven organizations, you need a nonprofit. NGO, if you're international or not. That's my public service announcement. You need a for-profit because you want some of this contract money. You want to be able to dance at both games. You want to dance on both sides of the coin. Your objectives, statistics, surveys, relevant graphs and charts. You do want to have some demonstratable information. You want to be able to, at a glance. I mean, this presentation is beautiful. They did a great job because I want you to be able to have some visual memory here, right? So when you're doing a proposal, it doesn't have to be all black and white. Even if it is, you need to go ahead and make sure that you're showing graphs and charts and citing your sources. Your goals are defined, objectives are defined, and the outcome is defined. Who is going to do what? When will they do it? And how will it be measured? Who, what, when, and where? So first thing you want to say, who's on first? Who, what, when, and where? And how can we measure that you did what you said you were going to do? That's what's important, okay? Example, the goal of, let me pick Ms. Glenda, who hit. Glenda's project is to increase the number of students successfully graduating from high school. Oh, we just talked about successfully graduating from high school. School will operate an after-school tutoring program for students at risk of dropping out of school. Now, grant proposals, this is kind of the mundane part because you just want to get out there and provide the service. But you got to be able to communicate the service. What's the objective of it? The number of students successfully graduating will increase by 25% in 5 years. That's the outcome. You got to be able to kind of slow down to speed up. Slow down to speed up. Most lengthy and detailed section of the entire thing is your methodology. How are you going to do it? How is she going to get 25% in the next 5 years to increase? That means you have she's putting a system in place that will be demonstratable, because it won't be for the students that's there, it's for the students to come. So now she's hopping 2 generations. So we talk about the 2-generation grants and the multi-year grants and outcomes that are available, and how grants come in multi-years as well. You don't just get one and done. Okay, each activity should flow logically to the next, kind of like these slides. You need a timeline. Again, remember those charts? Those charts are there. So I'm giving you a visual because some people some of you all, this is elementary for you, but some of you all, this is brand new. So if this is good stuff for you, put "is good" in the chat so I know you feel it. I need to know, I need feedback, I need motivation. So if you feeling this and it's good for you, let me know, because when we go deep on the next one, I know what you need here. So let me know it's good, put it in the chat. I need to know you still here with us, okay? Using tactics proven in previous studies. That's what I talk about with the research. You got to show some previous studies. It's kind of like dating, like what you do before. How did you do that before? Who were you dating? How did that end? You know, so you really want, or how did it begin? You really want to know the research behind that success. When you hear people been married 45, 50 years, you want to be able to know what tactics was used to get there. What did you do? And that's kind of what you're doing when you're doing a grant proposal. Evaluation, evaluate. Sufficiency. Where are you now? Evaluate. I evaluate everything, even my routes home. It's like, was this the best way? Was this the fastest way? In Georgia, it's practically no street lights, right? I come out of Chicago, you got a street light on everywhere. But in the South, there are no street lights. And my vision is not the best in the evening. So when I'm driving, I'm almost like the opposite of a vampire. It starts getting dark. Wherever I am, either I'm gonna stay there or I'm not going, because you gotta be able, I need some vision. I need some light to see out here. And then in Georgia, it's like pitch dark. It's like driving in the dark. So when I have to go out at night, which I do, and I have to go and whatever route, I always evaluate what's the best route to take, a straight route, so I could get straight there and back without all these curves in between all these trees and under the Mayberry bush, to get back home. So it's really, really important that you evaluate everything that you do. And I am a stickler for evaluation. I want to make sure that I'm taking the best route with the least amount of time and the most efficient way for whatever goal I'm trying to accomplish. And I don't just do that in grant writing. I do that in all aspects. I tell people life is like a cookie cutter. And how you do one thing, you do all things. So if you're a person that pay attention to details, you pay attention to details, period, across the board. I'm that detailed person, right? What measurement tools will be used? What are you using? Are you using a Myers-Briggs for personality? What tools are you using? Are you using one of the scales in the school? Are you evaluating? We need to know what tools you're using. And sometimes we have to give you suggestions, and we do that through as part of the research. So once you get that research in, we're able to help you better with identifying the best tools for your organization. Budget development. It's not as easy as it sounds. You don't have to have an accountant. You just have to really be sensible. And once you do some research and see what previous people and programs have used and done and what's required in your program, we don't underbid. we stay, sometimes we overbid because we provide more. No matter what other people have done, we add to it, we make it better. So it's good to research to see what they've done so that you can create your program just better. It's always got to be just a little bit better than whoever got funded before. You want yours better. And you don't want to fall into whatever trap that they fell into or misnomer that they fell into. All expenses must be reasonable. So remember, it's not that you can't get the 99,000. It just has to be reasonable to what the job requires. Okay. And you don't just get grants and donations. Sometimes it's an in-kind, sometimes it's cash. Linda just got a cash grant, right? So sometimes it's cash. It's different forms of funding that you could get. Use a budget format recommended by the funder. They will give you the format. And if your budget is not following the sheets that they have in the RFP, Linda told us this request for proposal, if they do not have it in there, then that's on you. And then they'll throw your proposal. I mean, I've seen a lot of people come to me and in tears because they could have won because nobody else applied, but then they didn't apply correctly. So it went back into the budget. Here, I'm just pretty much saying, include all your calculations, recheck your math, don't miss, some of the simple things. Just take your time. Remember, you want a reviewer. You want to make sure that somebody, I'm saying it and here it is, okay? Your review process. You want to make sure that you're spell checking. You want to compare the funders' criteria to what you're doing. And you want to make sure you recheck the math. I mean, sometimes you could be off like $10 and sometimes you could be off $100,000. So you just want to make sure that you're following the format, the margins, uploading to the website. Now, even everybody's computer is different. So that's why you want to get familiar with grants.gov, because that's where you're going to upload if it's a federal contract. Proposal RFP, most of them will go to grants.gov and they have a whole system, and you want to make sure that your computer is compatible and you can upload that document onto their system. Submission, we're at step 6. You hanging in there? You okay? Anybody need some water? We okay? Let me know you're okay in the chat. Tell me, send some ones up so we can know you're okay. I hope this is good stuff for you. I hope you're getting it. Okay, we got some okay in there. So online is the most common way that we submit. Submit the grant early. 72 hours is usually what it takes. I mean, some people have been down to the wire, but I'm gonna tell you what happens when you're down to the wire. You get tired, you tap out, the funding, everything just goes haywire. Your computer will shut down. I mean, it's like, God forbid, you do it on the day of, even not even down to the wire, because it's normally at midnight. And when you're submitting, you want to get that proposal in. The email and fax, I like my stuff in the FedEx. I want it at your door because sometimes if you're doing foundations or different submissions, then you have to submit a paper copy as instead of an electronic copy. I send my stuff notarized. I send flowers to the secretary. I mean, I'm gonna be your friend. I want you to know my proposal is here and give me some grace and mercy. And really, you really want to have those relationships with the funder. You want to know what they want. Secretaries are very powerful though. So I have a lot of secretary friends. I really do. Happy Secretary Day, happy Bosses Day. I like the secretaries. So the RFP or the website should indicate when to expect notifications. Okay. The website will tell you, so now that you've submitted everything, you've gone through it, now you just wait. It's going to tell you if they do it that quarter, if they do it within a week, if they do, normally it's a 2 to 3 week response. Sometimes it's a little longer because they do it by quarters. But in the meantime, you don't just submit and stop. You submit and you do it again. And even when it gets funded, you submit and you do it again. And that's why you have a grant writer. So you submit and you do it again. When we take on a client, we do anywhere from 4 to 12 grants in a month period for each organization. So you're like, whoa, yay, the money is yours. Now what? Now you celebrate. But see, we celebrate in the beginning because we start with the end in mind. And the end is to be here. We got it. What? We got it. So everybody right now where you are, just celebrate. Give yourself a yay. Yes, you did it. Now what? You're like, oh, here come the real work stars, right? So we're gonna put your dream to work for you. You're gonna start working on your dream. We're gonna put it in motion. You're gonna purchase the supplies and equipment. Sometimes grants you got they come out in lump sums, and sometimes it's 2 parts and 3 parts. Sometimes if you got a larger grant, it's over a 3-year period, and they pay out quarterly. So you start putting things in order. But remember, because you're so efficient, you've already had your checklist ready. You already know where to go to next. You're already preparing your funding reports. You're just plugging in numbers now because we prepared you for this moment. We prepared you for this moment when you started. So this get to work, the end, you started with the end in mind, right? So that's where you go next. So then some people say, oh my God, I didn't get it. My funding, it wasn't approved. So then that's the best thing in the world, to get an unfunded proposal. Why? Because here's the things that they say. Didn't include everything you required, submitted irrelevant materials, didn't follow the binding requirements, misspelled, miscalculations. But what's best about it is because when you make one of these errors, you'll never make it again. It is experience is a great teacher. That is the truth. And then you also get an opportunity to talk to the grant funder. You get an opportunity to say, did I miss the deadline? My problem isn't a problem. I'm trying to address something that's really not a problem for the world. Am I asking you for funding that you don't fund? My solution does not address the problem. You get to find out why or not. Where, because you saw those scores when we did the live grants. So when you saw those scores, it said things like, 35% is for this part, 25% is 45% is for this. So it's telling you the most important parts of your submission when you submit a grant. And so then you can find out where were you strong and where were you weak. Those are the things that are really, really important. Following the guidelines, proposals should be comprehensive, clear, and concise. Prepare and submit reports to funders on time. I mean, that goes with clear and concise. And then you definitely want to keep a record of all your activities, your receipts, your test results, everything that you're doing. You want to keep a record of it. So I have files for every client, and inside of every client, I'm kind of type A, like super, right? So inside of every file, there's another file, because you want to make sure that we're submitting for this proposal and these are the requirements here. Here's one of the misconceptions that people have for grant writing, is that they think once I have a great proposal, I can just keep resubmitting it, but you can't, because every proposal has its own requirements. Every RFP has its own requirements. And with that, their own requirements, then you have to rewrite. Now you have some general stuff about your organization, but when it comes down to programming, you got to rewrite it. And you got to come up with addressing the guidelines as given, right? Only 5 to 10% of submitted proposals are funded. So that's why we say you never just stop. The reason we have such a high number is because when we write for somebody, what I say, 4 to 12 a month, we write. It's not every proposal that we submit. It's just because we're relentless. Like pit bulls, we get a hold of it. We just keep biting and we'll let go till you get it. And then we create we have a purpose project. So the purpose project is where we do crowdfunding. It's crowdfunding for nonprofits. So you need some funding in order to better and further your mission. So we create our ways for you to be able to get some funding and results for your program, okay? Organizing and writing your need statements. Please make sure you're taking screenshots here so that you can be involved with and know, because some of this you will get when we send out. For those who attended, we'll send out information for you, but some of them will not be able to get it. But this is that need statement is really important. Again, those final steps on following the guidelines. Did I click back? Wait a minute. Okay, yeah, so really quick, screenshot this. These are some extra grants. This FedEx Small Business Grant is phenomenal. And that's everywhere, that's nationwide. You can apply for that FedEx, male, female, any nationality. You definitely want to apply for the FedEx Small Business Grant. You don't have to be a nonprofit organization. For women, the Amber Grant That Amber grant is amazing. You want to get that Amber grant and apply for that. That's also as simple as the one that we went over online. The small business technology, we got some text in here. So you definitely want to apply for that grant. And this is just giving you some ideas of some grants available for people who are females. Now, it may not be you guys, it may be your wife, it may be your girlfriend. She needs to be a part of your organization, and then you can apply for that with her leading them. So make sure you screenshot these. I'll make sure that you guys get a copy of some of these and the links to them, but you can really pull it up. Now, if you have questions, members at smartpeoplenetwork.com, I'm going to want you to send that there so we can answer personal questions for you. I see some Q&A we're going to get to, but now you get another bonus. Because as we said, we had a bonus tonight, and one of my dear friends, I mean, let me tell you, this gentleman is around the clock. I mean, I don't even think he sleeps. When he is handling a person, when I say pay attention to details, and has a love and passion for the people. I mean, he was training kids. He wants kids to learn. He is working in every aspect to help people really understand how now you got funding and you're able to pay yourself and you got money. And it's like, what do I do with all this money? Like, how do I make it grow? What do I do? How's everybody moving? And you hear so much about this thing called Forex. You hear so much about this thing called trading. And then literally, he was the first person that I took a kind heart and really listen, a close ear, and from the heart, you know, that, oh, wow, he's really teaching people. It's not a network marketing thing or just some, let me just get some people in here to say that they're trading. This is the real deal when you want to learn how to trade. And everybody should be familiar, even if you're not going to trade. It's big in Smart People Network, and it's big for each and every one of us. So I really want you all to get more information about Forex and trading. So I am going to mute myself out. I asked them to go over just the 6 golden rules for Forex trading, but also to tell you a little bit more about what he does and how he do it and how it can affect your life and what you should be doing and learning with Forex trading. Now, are you there, Clint? Can you hear me okay?
Let me see if it'll let me unmute my mic. Can you hear me now?
Let's give him a moment to unmute himself.
Does anybody in the chat hear me?
I see you, but I can't hear you yet.
I wonder why she does not. Oh, she turned off her speakers.
I see your speaker moving, but we still can't hear you.
Yeah, I believe she turned off her speakers because she didn't want the feedback on her mic.
What about
Miss McCoy, can you text her or something and let her know?
how about that? Did that help?
Can you hear me now?
Nope, we still can't hear you. I see your speaker moving. 1 minute. Hello?
I bet we're going to get to the bottom of it here in just a second. Thank you.
Okay, they can hear you. I can't hear you. I don't know why I can't hear you.
I believe her
But they
speaker
can hear
is
you.
turned off.
So you know what? Wait a minute. I tell you, I will hear you through someone else's phone. Give me 1 minute.
That's what they say about technology is it is great when it is working correctly.
I can hear you through another phone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mute and I'm going to stop my video and I'm going to give the screen to you and I'll click over to your slides. Is that good?
That sounds like it'll work for me.
Okay, there you go. The floor is yours.
Super. And so you're still hearing me in the chat, everybody says? Give me some yeses or ones in there. All right, it's saying ones. You can hear me. Excellent. And so many of you have heard me either speak before or you jumped onto the event that we had this last time. And I've been familiar with Dr. Stacy Lang for, it was probably 2-3 years ago that we was on tour up into we'd been up on tour in the Chicago area. And that was when we had the opportunity, several individuals had come in. She was working with a women's enrichment seminar, and I'd been asked to speak and talk a little bit about trading. And so I've been in the trading arena now for going on longer than I'd like to mention. So it's given me the opportunity to see both sides of what we call a trading desk. So I've seen trading from the perspective of the institutional side, and I've seen it from the retail side. And it's helped me as an educator to speak to individuals that have never traded before, have never seen anything about trading before. And it's it's like learning a foreign language. And so that's the way that I like to speak on the subject. And so we do want to keep this fairly short because we have a few minutes here, and I was told that we wanted to keep this to about 10-15 minutes. And I'm going to hit on just on these key points that she has put up on the screen here. So the Forex market, if you're unfamiliar with the Forex market, most people, maybe if you've traveled out of the United States into Canada, you would have traded your US dollars for Canadian dollars. Or if you went to Mexico, you traded your US dollars for Mexican pesos. Or if you had the opportunity maybe to fly to Europe, you maybe traded it for euros or something to that effect. And in the airport, you might have noticed there's a booth that's called the foreign exchange, where you can go in and exchange your currency, your local currency, for the currency of wherever it is that you're going. Now that's a utilitarian purpose. You want maybe money to go on vacation. And understand that that market is something that runs around the clock. And so as it runs around the clock, the slight fluctuations, even pennies in fluctuation of one currency traded against another currency, it provides an opportunity for individuals that want to speculate as to whether that is going to move up or is going to move down. And that's really what learning the Forex market is about, is how you can anticipate the way that it's going to move. And so when we're looking at the 6 rules of Forex trading, one, I tell individuals it's like learning a profession. And so if we were to ask Dr. Stacy Lang if to get her doctorate, did that happen overnight? And so any doctor that I speak to, a doctor of psychology, a medical doctor, whatever that case may be. And so that's not something that happened overnight. And so you should expect that the Forex market is also not going to be an overnight success. You shouldn't expect or put that expectation upon yourself that you're going to be profitable overnight. That it would be a rare case. It might be a lucky shot in the dark, but it's something that you plan for. It's something that you trade for. It's something that you learn through the process. And the first thing we do is it's not random activity either. When you're studying to become anything in higher education, any kind of a profession, there is a curriculum. You walk through a certain step and you go through a syllabus or a course outline, or you put a roadmap together for you. And we would call something like that a trading plan. You need to have a trading plan, and it answers the same things that we were talking about in the grant writing class. It needs to answer those who, what, when, where, why type questions. You need to know the things you're looking for in a trade, the things of how to find a trade, what to do with it once you've found it, how to execute the trade. You need to have a brokerage account, which is different than a bank account. Maybe you've never opened that type of thing. It's just like filling out a grant application for the first time. When it's all new, it's all new. And you just need to step in. And this is one of those areas that you can do that, starting with demo money, play money, and learn how all the buttons work, learn how all of the systems work. And by following a trading plan and following something, it's like two lines in the sand. And it's either going to go up or it's going to go down. And we can profit from either one. And we draw two lines in the sand. If it goes to one of those lines, we're going to take profit. That's called a take profit line. And if it goes to the other one, I can't have it go any more against me. We call that a stop loss. So if you're following it, then you're following along for a stop loss, which just like it sounds. I can't afford to lose anymore. So you can automate it by putting an order into the computer that says, if it goes past this line, stop the loss. If it goes past this line, I'm going to take profit. And then you can start following your trading plan in locating a trade, trading it, and those type of things. I tell individuals when we sit down to work on a trading plan that we want to make all of the difficult decisions when there's no money on the table. Because if you try to make difficult decisions when there's money on the table, you're going to be following what we call a subjective trading plan, and your emotions are going to get in the way. And we're all human. We all laugh and cry and get mad and get happy. We're emotional creatures. And so you want to make the big decisions when there's no money on the table, build them right into your trading plan. So you're following a rule-based or an objective trading plan. So that way it will put the odds in your favor that you're not going to make one of those emotional driven decisions that lead to further mistakes. And then we show you how to do something that's called analysis. There's three kinds of analysis. There is a fundamental analysis. That's like economics, if you ever took economics in school, where there's macroeconomics, microeconomics, what country's doing what do they import, what do they export, what's the interest rate, what's going on in that country, what's the administration doing, what's the central bank of that particular country doing. And if you follow that type of news, financial news, then you can start making fundamental decisions. And in addition to fundamental, there's technical decisions where we can look at a chart and see the last time that the Federal Reserve raised interest rates, here's what the market did. Or the last time that there was concerns about inflation, here's what happened in the market. Or the last time that there was a crisis like 9/11 or what we call the Great Recession in 2008 or the pandemic of 2020, we can see in a chart what happened. And technically, we can then determine by looking at a chart and following patterns in market structure and those type of things. And then there's the third one, which is known as market sentiment, which is a third type of analysis. And that's what are people doing with the news. In a time where we're surrounded by what they're telling us is fake news, should we believe what we hear? Well, we believe what we hear when we see it in the chart, when we see what the crowd is doing. And unfortunately, a good portion of that crowd is not educated in this arena, and the crowd is wrong. They're following that fake news, and it is costing them money. And so we teach them very quickly that they follow all three types of the analysis. And then number 6, and that is to learn to adapt quickly. I tell individuals, And I teach off of a live chart that's streaming. It's actually happening right now. We could pull up a market of what's going on in Australia right now, what's going on in Japan right now. And while it's Thursday evening for a lot of us that are hearing this, it's Friday morning already in that part of the world. And so that's why this is a 24-hour market, and we can only trade the market at hand. And by learning and following these simple steps, realistic expectations, a trading plan, unemotionally involved, minimizing our losses, keeping our emotions set aside, following the analysis, all three types of analysis, and adapting to the market at hand, that gives us an edge over everyone else. Because a lot of people are just simply making a trade based on a gut feeling. And it's good to trust your gut, but it's better to trust the numbers, to actually see what's going on and learn. It's as simple as 2 + 2 = 4 when you know what to look for. And that's what we teach on a regular basis, is this is not random activity. This is mathematically driven. And even if math is not your best subject, it is something that you can learn because we have tools and apps to make it easier to read. I don't want to drag it on any further. I think that was about 10 to 12 minutes. And I just wanted to give a brief explanation. We'll have an opportunity where we can come in and we can get deeper into it.
Wow, phenomenal overview. Now, let me ask you, if people really want to learn more about trading and Forex, how would they do it? How would they get in touch with you? How would they get to learn from you? We're in the Smart People Network. You're here, but you do some special trainings. How can they get in touch with you?
So the best way to get a hold of me, and just like we've been working with Dr. Stacy to come over into the Telegram arena and kind of expand into another venue, that's where I'm at. I've got 3 channels in Telegram, and you can get through the Smart People Network those Telegram links, and you can ask the person that invited you, and they can ask the person that invited them, or whatever the case may be, and we'll get you that link. There's also a website, right? Every for-profit and every non-for-profit, I believe we just heard, needs what? A website. And so we follow that same lead that Dr. Stacy Lang's talking about. And so we have websites and links to bring you into the right place. So we're working on the .academy, and we're working on getting accredited. But at this point, you would go to .info. So CSA 5 steps .info is going to take you to the place where you can find the program to walk through, where we're in there Monday through Thursday, London session, New York session, and it provides an opportunity, regardless of where you are in the world, to hear and see me trade live and go through these steps every day right there on the charts on the trades that we find together. The students many times call the trades, and I mark up and do the analysis right there on the chart in front of them. And we end up taking the trade, making money on the trade, and getting out of the trade during the hour that we're in session.
Wow. Now I see a couple people saying, spell it out. Can we spell that website out? Is it the number 5 or the FIVE?
Yep. I believe Glenda was on the spot there before. She got that bonus from you, and she was the first one to type it into the chat.
Oh, she sure did. There it is in the chat room, ladies and gentlemen. There, Glenda is on it. Hey there, Glenda. Look, she is, I don't know if she's Smart People Network or not, but if you're not, get with the person that invited you on this overview this evening and definitely get their link so that you can become a member in the Smart People Network. I'm super excited to be here this evening. Let me click over 1 minute. And let's see. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is concluding our overview for this evening. I hope you have been fed and serviced this evening, because you have definitely been, even from every step of the way, from the chat to the fun that we have together. I'm super excited to see each and every one of you get the fulfillment of your nonprofit, for-profit, learn Forex trading, put yourself in position to get funding. Some of you all will be in part 2 of the contact Mr. Eastman through smartpeoplenetwork.com. See, okay, perfect. I see it in there. Check that chat, get that information out of there. But you really want to get yourself positioned to start getting funding. And that's what we want to help you do. So again, my name is Stacy Lang. DC Eastman is my partner in production for this evening, but we definitely will be sending out some information for you via email for those of you who were registered this evening. And if you weren't registered and you hear this in some form of recording or overview from somewhere else, you can always reach us at members@smartpeoplenetwork.com. You'll also see us on YouTube and Facebook. We have a Smart People Network community. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. And that concludes our overview. So thank you all and have a phenomenal evening. I'll see you next time.